So I look at the idea of love from, I would almost say that a synonym for the word love is acceptance or allowance. And so in the case of human love, when you truly love someone, you accept them fully as they are. And then you could then apply you could then take it up another level. So you have human love, and then you have divine love. And the same concept and idea would apply there too, where it's complete acceptance and allowance for all beings and everything that happens in the universe to be as they are. And then once you're at that place, then you are living from the heart. And then maybe what you're talking about of putting other people above you is an expression of living from the heart. And then there are other aspects or other ways that you can express that state of love.
So you think that acceptance, love is reflected by acceptance of someone. So how do you reconcile that with the fact that like people can do terrible things? Do you accept the terrible things that they do?
So this was actually something that was brought up in the book as well, and he gave the example of Hitler. And I guess the idea is that when you're in that higher state of love, you can recognize the places that people are acting from, and then you can accept them. So in the case of Hitler, in his own mind, he was doing the right thing. He was acting from a place of righteousness and honor, and he wanted, and his goals were reflective of that, of his ideal. Whether they be coming from a small egoic place or not, that's what he believed to be true. So someone that is up in that higher place of love or in peace can recognize the places that people are coming from, and then as a result of that, it's easier for them to accept them as they are.
Okay. So then, but let me escalate that to a kind of ludicrous degree. So then what if you're like in World War II, right? And say let's say you're operating at this level, right? Which, and by the way, like Orthodoxy totally teaches exactly what you're saying as well. Love your enemies, right? But what if you're like put in a room with Hitler, like in the middle of World War II? Like, do you kill him?
Well, I mean, me at my state now,
Mhm.
probably.
Mhm.
But if you're, I mean, if you're in that higher state, then the idea is that you won't. And again, like at this stage, we're talking about it more from an intellectual place and not from a
Mhm.
pure experiential place. Um, but again, that is the idea.
Yeah, there's this ludicrous man. There's an article on NPR about Orthodox churches just the other day, and it was saying how Orthodoxes are like they've become like a far right recruiting center and this kind of stuff. And I thought it was really funny. They interviewed a woman who was like, "I left my Russian Orthodox church because the priest would not condemn Russia, and everyone was just saying that we should pray for both sides of the conflict, and I couldn't believe that. And I had to go to a new church. It's like love your enemies, man. Like I mean, regardless of what's going on in the middle, like that is the goal toward which Christians are supposed to aspire. So just as you say, like that's so hard to live, right? That's so very very hard to live, especially when cases get more extreme. But if you orient yourself like knowing that that's the target, like you have a better chance of succeeding.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Ed, orienting yourself as if that's the target, and then along the way you're going to see the growth that you're making, and then that makes the target more like you can see it for what it actually is when you're recognizing the steps that you're making along the path, and
Yeah,
then that will give you more faith in the whole process as well.
yeah, Yeah, but what I found interesting actually is that so when he was talking about love as a state of being, though, then like in that same paragraph, he went on to say being in the state of love is reflected by your mindset being how can I be of help to you? How can I comfort you? How can I loan you money when you're broke? How can I console you? And I thought it was interesting that these things are all actually actions.
Mhm.
Like that is not something internal; it's something external. And so that seems to me to. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So I would say, yes, they're actions, but the state is cultivated first because you actually want to help people because you're in that place of love. Versus if you're in a lower place, your motive could be something very different. It could be, and which often when people are acting from a lower place, often is out of pride or trying to gain some sort of approval. So again, like we were talking about in the last session, and we discussed the idea of service. So it's not the action itself; it's what's behind the action.
Yeah. It's something that's often warned against in Orthodoxy, where they say like when you're like don't beat those guys who like pray loudly in public. They say like don't do it to show off for people, right? Don't. They say when you're fasting, don't be like I'm so hungry. Like go around like that all the time so everyone can see like how much you're suffering, right? Like even so, then even though you're doing what's prescribed, it's not coming from the right place. So I mean, I agree with that, but I also just feel like there's like an in between kind of state where, like for me, just knowing that okay, for example, if someone needs money and I have the ability to give it to them to help them, then I should do that. Just period. Like as a prescribed action, that actually helps me. Because like I like intellectually I know it's true, but like I've done that sometimes recently, and like I didn't feel like I don't know, I didn't feel like I was coming from a place of like high level of love, you know. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I guess I'm kind of bragging about it now. But I'm not trying to brag about it or show off about it. But I don't know. To me, that's just my perspective. Is like to me, that's not coming from a place of vanity, but it's also not coming from a place of pure love. It's literally me being like, well, yeah, this is the mechanics of being a better person, of being more loving. And so that's what I need to do. And then, I don't know, hopefully that'll cycle back into my way of being. I don't know. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, and we talked about this last time too about service and then how service can actually lead you to doing it from a place from the heart. So maybe initially it's more of a mechanical thing, more of a robotic thing, but it can lead to the place where it does come truly from the heart.
Yeah, and that's where I personally give a lot of credit to like Orthodoxy and like I don't know, a lot of people kind of like scoff at the fact that well we had 10 commandments and then you say oh what you need like a teacher like Jesus to like tell you what's good and bad like you don't need that. um I don't know, I kind of need that. I think a lot of people do. I
Sure.
think because then again it's you have to take the whole message in. You can't only take like certain parts. You can't take
Mhm.
the parts about doing good things and then do it out of ego, just as you're saying.
I mean, also too, it's can you imagine or think of a time in your life where you actually did something that was truly from the heart and it was truly genuine, not because you thought you had to do it, but because you just really, really wanted to do it.
In terms of like helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think I have, but not in any huge way. Only in small things, like the fact that like I know I can remember having felt that I did that, but I can't actually remember off the top of my head what those environments were really. Um,
Mhm.
so it's something that I would really like to make more of a practice in my life. Like,
Yeah.
it's challenging because I was, me personally in my spiritual path, like I never ever in my whole life considered myself to be a bad person, but in retrospect, like I lived so much of my life just like only focusing on what I cared about, and
Mhm.
caring about other people, but kind of secondary to myself almost all the time. And breaking, more than a decade of living like that, breaking that habit is very difficult. But honestly, I think the advice that David Hawkins is giving is it's really good advice. Like I have more stuff that like I have some bones to pick with him, but it's mostly bigger picture stuff. Um, the actual his understanding of emotions and how they affect us and how they feed each other, I think it's really on point. I think it's really on point.